Every morning, we wake up to a world that's already moving. The sound of the alarm blaring, the rush of thoughts as we jump out of bed. Immediately, we are caught in the flow. The pressure to get things done, the to-do lists that seem endless, the people to meet, the tasks to finish. But in the midst of this hustle, there's something we don't always notice. The moments in between, the quiet ones, the ones that could change everything if we only took a second to see them. This was Gina's morning, rushing to meet deadlines, feeling the weight of a busy day already pressing on her shoulders. She didn't notice the sunlight pouring through the window, the gentle sound of the leaves rustling outside, or the elderly man outside her apartment struggling to carry heavy bags. Her world was filled with things she had to do, without a second to breathe. But what if the things she missed could change everything? One beautiful morning, Gina stood at the bus stop waiting for the bus to arrive. She was impatient. The bus was late and the clock was ticking. She glanced at her watch. The crowd around her seemed to blend into one mass of faces, all heading somewhere, all as rushed as she was. But there was a woman standing just next to her. She smiled at Gina, a smile that could have brightened anyone's day. But Gina didn't see it. She didn't return the smile. She didn't even notice. Maybe the woman just needed a simple acknowledgement, a smile, a moment of connection. But Gina was lost in her own world. Sometimes, kindness doesn't cost anything, just a moment to see someone else. But Gina didn't realize that yet. The next day, Gina arrived at the cafe. She ordered her usual coffee, eyes still glued to her phone. The barista, a young woman who had seen hundreds of faces today, greeted Gina with a friendly smile. But Gina didn't look up. She didn't hear the warmth in the barista's voice. She was busy scrolling through messages, caught up in her own stress. The barista's smile faded slightly, unnoticed by Gina. Sometimes we don't realize how much our indifference can hurt. A small gesture, like making eye contact, like returning a smile, can make someone feel seen, heard, important. But Gina didn't know that. Not yet. At the office, the pressure continued. Gina had piles of work waiting. Tunde, one of her colleagues, approached her with a question. He was struggling with a project and hoped for her guidance, but Gina didn't have time. Or at least, that's what she thought. She snapped at him, irritated by the interruption, not realizing the impact her sharp words would have. Words can hurt more than we realize. A sharp tone, a cold response, it can leave a mark even if the other person doesn't speak up. Tunde didn't say anything, but the pain was there. Gina didn't see it. Not in that moment. As Gina walked home from the office, her mind raced. She kept thinking about the things she hadn't said, the moments she hadn't shared. She passed the homeless man on the corner, his face tired, his eyes dull. He looked up at her as she walked by, and for a brief second Gina felt a pang of guilt. She didn't stop to help, she didn't even acknowledge him. And yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was missing something. It wasn't that Gina didn't care, it was just that she didn't know how to slow down. She was caught up in the rush of life, too busy to stop and see others. She didn't know that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can make the biggest difference. That evening, on the bus ride home, something changed. Gina sat down, staring out the window, lost in her thoughts. The world felt distant. But then a man sitting across from her noticed her distress. Without a word, he smiled and said, "Don't worry, it's going to be all right." His words were simple, yet they cut through the noise in Gina's mind. She had spent the entire day rushing, ignoring the people around her, missing the moments that could have made a difference. But in that moment she realized kindness doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be planned. It can be small, but it can change everything. The next morning, Gina woke up earlier than usual. For the first time in a long time, she decided to take her time. She didn't rush. She made herself a cup of tea, sat down to eat her breakfast slowly, and allowed herself to enjoy the quiet of the morning. As she got ready for the day, she took a deep breath, letting go of the stress she had carried for so long. She decided today would be different. She decided to notice the world around her, to see the people who were just as busy as she was, but who still deserved a moment of kindness. She decided to make time for others. At the cafe, Gina saw the barista again. This time she didn't just order her coffee. She looked up, smiled and asked, "How's your day going?" The barista's eyes lit up with surprise. She had not expected such a question. It was a small act, but it made all the difference. Back at the office, Gina saw Tunde again. This time she didn't avoid him. She didn't snap. Instead, she took a moment to ask how he was doing, if he needed help. She offered support without judgment, listened to his struggles, and gave him the guidance he needed. Tunde smiled, his face brightening as he realized she cared. It wasn't much, but it was enough. It was enough to show him he mattered. And Gina realized that the smallest acts of kindness, genuine, thoughtful acts, could change someone's day. Throughout the day, Gina noticed something incredible happening. The barista was kinder to the next customer. The elderly man smiled and waved at her as she passed. Tunde, feeling more confident, helped another co-worker with a task. And in each moment, Gina could see the ripple effect. The kindness she had shared had spread, touched others, and made their days a little brighter. Kindness doesn't just stay with one person. It grows, it spreads. And sometimes the smallest act can spark a wave of positivity that travels far beyond what we could ever imagine. At the end of the day, Gina sat in her apartment reflecting on everything she had experienced. She realized that kindness doesn't need to be grand. It doesn't need to be perfect. It can be as simple as a smile, as small as a compliment, but it can make all the difference. The world doesn't need big gestures. It just needs us to slow down, to notice, to see each other. Because when we choose kindness, we choose to make the world a little better for everyone. Every choice we make has an impact. Every word, every action leaves a mark on the people around us. So ask yourself, what kind of ripples are you creating today? What impact are you leaving on the lives of those around you? Kindness isn't just about changing others, it's about changing ourselves. And in the end, that's what truly matters.
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please support me by giving this video a thumbs up. In case you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, please do well to subscribe and turn on post notification so you get notified whenever I post more interesting contents like this. Kindly leave a comment under this video and let me know your thoughts about the video. See you guys in my next update. Bye.